Alright, so I just got finished talking with my friend, and all I did was take the gearbox back apart. I didn't change any shims or anything. I just put the tappet plate on there. So we got these two done. So now all we have to do is get in between them. We will check the anti-reversal latch, so I need to add an anti-reversal latch. We'll check it last, because I need to find one. So first things first is make sure not to lose any of the shims here. So as you take this off, you just want to be very delicate and not lose any of the shims at all. Set that aside. Pull this out. Set this down. Alright, so there's nothing there. First thing we're going to do is drop this in and see if it grinds. It sure does. So we're going to add at least something here. We want to have it as low as possible, considering that we have to get in between the bevel's teeth and the sector's teeth. Yep. So I've got some kind of size here. We need to check and see what this is before I put it on. And it looks like it might be a 0.3. No, it's a 0.2. It's a little bit bigger than 0.2 somehow. Alright, so we got that on there. Probably we want to go for a 0.3, so I don't think we have any 0.3s left. So we're just going to get, there's some underneath here. This might be, no, this is totally different. Here we go. Or is this two of them? Seems like two are stuck here. This is probably 0.5. Yeah, this is a 0.5er. Looks like two are stuck on there. That's really weird. Oh, this might be a 0.3. No, it's a 0.5. This couple 0.5s finally found. That's not what I need easily. Nope. This isn't what I need either. So what we're going to do here is get something really small, because I don't see any other 0.3s left. Here's something really small. So there's a 0.13. I'm just going to take that. Yeah. Put that in the bottom with this 0.2. So it's about 0.30 on here. Put this on here. There you go. That's much better. Okay, first things first, we're going to go ahead and put on the bevel gear. I'm already starting to lose shims, so I need to be careful of that. Sector here is plenty over the spur. Teeth contact, let's check teeth contact, is probably about 60% teeth contact. So we could take off some shims here easily and make more teeth contact. Let's check teeth contact with this one. Teeth contact here is probably like a 70 to 80%. Yeah, it's pretty darn close, so that's really good. That's optimal right there. So we could go down 0.1 millimeter for the sector gear if we wanted to. That'll give us a little bit better, like a 70%. So what we can do here is, lift this up. Now remember, if we adjust this, it's going to adjust the tap-up plate and sometimes some other issues like the cutoff. So if I take 0.3 here, let's just take this 0.1 millimeter and attach it to the top and leave the 0.3 on the bottom. That should still give us plenty of room to avoid the cutoff. And what I have done is added on the top of the sector, so that would actually push away from the tap-up plate a little bit more, so it would be okay. Go ahead and slide this back on here and check everything. Check to make sure the cutoff is cleared. Cutoff is totally cleared. Contact is definitely better. That's a really good contact. So we're going to go ahead and throw this out. This is definitely cleared, so we can take this out. And we know that we've just moved a little bit further away from the tap-up plate. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in. Tap plate on top. We can still see the delay clip is hitting really good. There's enough height to both of these. There's enough height on top of the delay and enough height on this so they get good contact. So we are pretty much done almost. We're almost there. The last thing to check is to put enough shims on top of the spur gear, and then we will be finished. So I'm going to throw these out now that we know how much goes on the bottom of the spur gear. And we've got the sector is completely shimmed and the bevel is completely shimmed. So now all we're working on is the spur gear. Now I have adjusted, you saw me adjust the sector, so we know that that is completely done. There's no way we're going to need to do any adjustments to that. Okay, so we're going to check the spur gear. Come on. And I'm pretty sure we should have some up and down movement hopefully in here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's check up and down movement. Now what I do here is I use a screwdriver. We can usually hear it, I want to see how much visually. Visually, that's a lot. That is a heck of a lot. Let's throw on some of those 0.5s right away. I think that's these right here. So we're going to throw that one on. We're going to throw this one on. And I'm pretty sure that that might be still not enough. Still not enough. And yeah, it's not enough. Probably a 0.2 would put us really close to being finished here. There's a 0.2 right there. And it seems that this is not resetting. There could be some stuff in between here. Yeah, there we go. Alright, turn that off. Go ahead and put that on top of our spur gear. And close her up and check. There is a very slight bit. So at this case, it's hard to rotate the spur where it is, but we just want to check up and down movement, so we're going to go ahead and close her up real quick. I think that might be too much, and we need to remove 0.1. It looks like it's really close, and when it's closed down and tightened, that really close tends to be over tightened, or too tight for shimming. So if this is actually perfect, we will be completely done shimming, and we will check the anti-rust latch to make sure that it bumps correctly. But we will be done, and you can just apply your grease, put all your other components in there, and you're good to go. We will check piston, make sure that it flows, whichever piston I'm going to use. Probably use one that messed up once, just to make sure. I'm pretty sure that we won't have a real issue. We'll have to see if we are going to or not. Got to do these things before I end the video, just to clarify everything is done. Okay, so we are tight here, and let's go ahead and use the hole here for viewing, plus use a tool to see how much is going to go up and down. Goes up the tiniest bit, so yeah, we're pretty much done. Yeah, it's very tiny bit. I mean, it's very, very tiny bit, so I'm not even going to add a shim, because I'm positive if we add one, that's going to be over shimmed. So we got 0.3 on the bottom. Roughly, it's like 0.33. And on the top, we've got 0.45, probably another 0.45, and 0.2-ish, 0.22, maybe 0.2-ish. There was a little bit of debris on this, so it kind of made it not be exact. You have to just kind of check out for that kind of stuff, but this is pretty close. This is what I would call at least a 99% precise shim job. That's how precise it is. I would say there's not much you can do different. So we're going to go ahead and get all the components in here. Oh shoot, I just dropped a shim. You never want to do that. Somehow I lost a shim. There it is. See, I moved this and I couldn't see it because it kind of blended in. Alright, so we didn't lose the shims after all. Good. Don't want to lose them. Alright, let's take an anti-reversal latch. Still an anti-reversal latch. Hey, from a bunch of spare parts. I don't even have an anti-reversal latch left. There's one in here. Doesn't look like it has a screw to it though. That's never good. Find an anti-reversal latch. Here we go. There's a spring with it too. Sweet. It looks like a garter one. Old garter that went to something. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like a garter one. Okay, so now we got this here. It's got a little bit of grease on it. Has this even been used? Yeah, it has been. Probably went to my old VFC gearbox, I'm guessing. Does it hit the spur gear at all? No, it does not. Spur gear doesn't come up into it, so that has been checked. We want to check out for those things. Put this down in here, flip it around, and then put this bevel gear in here. Check the contact. Contact is almost 100%. It's like a 90, 95. Yeah, dang, that's close. It's like a 95%. All right, so we got that in there. And we got this in here. So all we'll hear is the clicking now. Hear that clicking a little bit of the anti-bristle latch. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. Make sure we're not missing any shims real quick on everything. I think this shim went to this bevel. I'm not really sure. I always hate when that happens. You have too many shims here and they sometimes can fall off the gear if you're not paying careful attention. So that's not going anywhere. Okay. Check the sector real quick. Okay, that's not going anywhere. Okay, now check the bevel again. There's probably more that I can see on the bottom here. No, this looks right. I think this is right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and throw this back in here and close it up, and hear the spin of the final results without the anti-bristle latch in. Once you put the anti-bristle latch in, it's going to sound a little different. What else we'll know is if I put this in here, I can see the contact of the sector. And it's the same contact as before, it looks like. So yeah, this should be done. All right. And then when we close her up and we check it, we will know for sure. Because the bevel gear won't move that much up. Moves up a lot. I really think that this might have fell off. What is this? 0.15. I don't remember how much we're supposed to have on the bottom of the bevel. Hold this really tight and check it. Moves up a heck of a lot. So somehow, I think this was on the bottom because the bevel gear was right here. Yeah, I think that was the way it was. The contact looks perfect now. Still moves up quite a bit. As if something had happened. What you want to do is make sure that your bearings are in place. If something pops out of place, you'll be check your bearings. Feels like more may have popped off somehow. Just so that doesn't happen to you, you want to make sure that there's no other shims near you. Because now I'm going to have to double check. I'm going to have to double check the this again. simply because that might have happened. I'm not sure when that could have happened, but let's go ahead and close this up. Check the overall spin. I'm going to move these out of the way. Also doesn't help when you have a fan above you. Shims don't weigh much of anything, and so if you're moving around, you could accidentally get them hit off. There still needs to be more shims on the bottom of that. On the bottom of that bevel gear. Looks like they have somehow, I lost a few of them. So we can see it spins really good. Check other side. You want to listen for different friction. Nope, it's good. And then you check up and down movement. The only one that is showing more up and down movement now is the bevel. I think some shims fell off. That's what I think happened, because I was looking around and I looked at the bottom. It didn't look exactly the same to me. So yeah, it's really nice. Sounds the same on both sides. It's pretty much done. Last thing I'm going to do is recheck the this. I don't know how I messed that up somehow. Maybe while I was talking on the phone I hit something. I had no idea. But we're going to go ahead and I'll fix that up. But that's pretty much it, guys, for the video. Everything else, that is going to move the contact up from the anti-reversal latch. Trying to address that. I don't know when this happened and how it happened, but definitely I'll probably take off the shims and count them right now. But you can see the shimming went the way it was supposed to. Spur gear and the sector is completely done. The bevel gear I have to put more shims because somehow I lost shims somehow. Unless your bearings move out of place and change on you. No, it definitely didn't happen there. So we're going to take this out here. Again, try not to lose the shims, guys. Just like what probably happened to me. Set this down. Area that I know has no shims, so I can make sure. I'll take those off. So once you're completely done, you can go ahead and apply the grease. Kind of hold everything. You can write down your numbers, check your numbers. That way if you ever have to do any more shimming again, you'll know what they kind of should be. So let's go ahead and the top looks fine, the bottom is what looks bad to me. If I can get it off. The shim seems to be way too tight. Now there's more shims there. It's very hard to see because that one, but there was only two on there on the bottom. If if I take that back off. So I think some did fall off because I think I had more than 2. Yeah, there's only 2 on the bottom here. Wow. I think what I need is a 0.2 at least on the bottom. Make sure my top doesn't move on me. This was closest to the bevel earlier. I don't think that will do anything for me. I don't think that will do any justice. I'll take 2 of these though. I think these are both under 2s. This on top, hold it tight, barely any up and down movement. Close this up and then check with the pistol grip again. It's also possible I got really close to the shims with, probably got really close to the shim with a screwdriver and moved them out and didn't even notice. That or something changed that makes it need more shims, would be with bearings, but I don't see how that could have. Bearings are the same place they were before. So I think it's happened as some shims kind of fell off somehow. I guess we could watch the video and maybe see it happen, I don't know. But definitely needed more shims. 0.3 is a big number for me to forget. That's not something I didn't forget during the video. Somehow I lost. Yeah, see now it's back to where it was. So we'll pick up the pistol grip. We should see it. We should see the motor in the same spot as before. Alright, throw this in there. Put this on. Yep, perfect. See the little bit of movement. Okay, undo this again and check spur contact. It's probably not for me. We'll find out soon if it's for me or not. And you definitely don't want that to happen. Just rolled off my foot. South. And do this. And I'll put the gears back in there because I'm done. Check the amount of contact. And this will be the end of the video for sure. No way I'm going to lose some more shims. Also possible maybe I didn't tighten it enough. No, because I needed more shims, but I tightened it plenty at the end, so I think they came off somehow. Somehow they came off. I'm not sure how they did, when, what point. Probably just one came off. I'm not sure. Alright, open this up, make sure they stay in there, don't want to lose them, so I got this held down now. Put it in there. Alright, let's go ahead and put this one in. Contact. Now since this is perfect, this can't move, so the contact would be between the spur only. Does that make sense? Only the spur should be moving. Contact. It's got a lot of contact. Probably about 70%. Just estimating from looking at it, but yeah, that doesn't need to move at all. Alright, so we are done. We are done. Done. We are done. Okay, close that up. Tighten it down. And we are officially done. Everything has been checked. So we have no issues anymore. We know anything can now go in. If I change the cutoff, I'm going to have to check it with the sector. Oh, we need to check the piston real quick. I said I was going to, and I haven't yet. Make sure the piston's free flowing, or one that I'm going to use. I think for the hell of it, I'll try the G&P aluminum, just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. All right, everything's tight. Sounds the same on both sides. Moves very freely. thumb was hitting the bevel just now. Now revolutions, it's going to matter how well you actually grab this and rotate it. So that's why I usually don't go by revolutions. And that's way more than 8 revolutions. So, but that is good to go. You can't push these up or down. Bevel can barely come up. Spur gear barely come up. And sector barely come up. So they're finished. We know it meshes with the motor's pinion. We know that it has the right gap in there, so it's all good. And we know the contact with this is going to be good because we only moved up a little bit, and it was about 95% contact. And we know it avoids the spur gear, so that's all great. But let's check for a piston now, just for the heck of it. So anytime you want to use a different piston, you want to swap out, upgrade, downgrade, whatever you're doing with your piston. You need to make sure it's shimmed in there. It's a good mesh, because the sector could be hitting a part of the teeth wrong, so we need to show that. Just make sure we're clear on everything. Alright, so rotate this over, pull this off, check for shims. There's nothing there. They're all there. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and add the piston I'm probably going to use for test. This one. Just my guess. Previously been dremelled on the pickup. And no problem. There is no short stroke on this sector or the piston, so kind of stayed both of them. Thing to know, when you're installing piston, make sure that it doesn't bump the back here. Let's kind of watch it. This piston would actually be up a little higher, so there's no way it can bump the back here. It's probably about right there, so that seems to be okay. Last test is to put it in without the spur gear and see if it will slide back and forth, no problem. I think I tested that before and it did. Okay, so there's the spur gear out. Now I'm holding that as tight as possible. It does get a little bit tighter towards the back. It's because the gearbox wasn't closed all the way. Holding it as tight as possible. It's free flowing. So the last check is to put the screws across the top, every screw closed. Check your piston, make sure it's free flowing. I'm positive it is going to be free flowing. So we are done here. But let's show what would happen if I was using something like this gear, for example, this Ultimate right here. You can see a metal rack going across the side of it, each teeth. Now, if we shim down too much for the sector, it would actually hit into this. But sometimes that rack is up the top here. So, a good example I don't have right now, but let's just rotate this gear around, this piston around so that it has the rack there, just for an example. And you can see you have to be careful that it doesn't hit in that area now. It doesn't hit the top. Oh God, I just lost some shims. What is going on here? They're still right here, the 3 of them. But I almost lost them more, so I haven't lost what I shimmed. I was about to. So let's get this back in there before I lose any for real. Okay, so we got that in there. We'll put this in just for demonstrating purposes, and it hits it. See, so if the piston was actually made that way, where this metal rack was on this side, this is just an example, I'm just flipping it over so we can kind of copy it, it totally hits it. That would be really catastrophic. When we close the gearbox up and we go to shoot it, it would just come around and just boosh, hit right into that and just can't pull this piston back. It'd be catastrophic for your sector gear and your piston. What you could do is shave off a small layer off each tooth here of your sector, and it will fit in there without hitting this top of this rack going across here. Or what you could do is take the time and shave all in between there. That would be a little difficult, and you probably couldn't pull that off, to be honest. Or you just don't use this piston. So if it had a rack on the top, this one doesn't. You can see I just flipped it back around, it doesn't. So we wouldn't have to worry about it. But in your case, you should always look out for that. Also, you don't want to hit the top of the piston here. This piston is not coming out at me. It's further down. So what I mean is you can see the teeth. See, you can see the teeth. No matter where I rotate right here, you can see them. So if you couldn't, like let's say it's the Lonex, the one that's pre-engaged right here, you couldn't see the teeth. See, they go down inside. You want to make sure you don't hit the side of this piston. You only want to hit the teeth. So here's like a garter. That's really hard to mess up. See, because the teeth are right there without hitting into a rack. So you don't have to worry about hitting into the piston the way it's not supposed to, but you can see that would just have no problem clearing there, so I'd have to check otherwise. But we're going to use this piston, and everything is done. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's the video. Probably fast forward some of it to make it a little bit shorter. And this is perfectly shimmed, ready to go. Needs to be greased up and some other components. I'm going to have to look for some kind of a trigger assembly. Okay, once you get everything done in your gearbox, just to check and see if it's too tight on the shim, and you check with the screwdriver on all three of these and they're good. Another test towards the end is to see if your gears backwind. If they never backwind, you have to angle this a certain way and be at a certain point. But if they don't backwind, then that means that you probably have it too tight. So right here I'm kind of showing how easily they rotate. You can see gears have no problem rotating. So we're going to look for some backwind. And you kind of don't see it here, but what we need to do is get to the position to actually check and see it. Right there, you can check to see it. See, so I'm going to keep my camera rolling. You can see that there's some resistance going backwards right there. So if we angle this probably a little bit more down this way, we'll have a little bit of backwind. I'm trying to just get to that point to kind of show. You can see it almost did it right there. I was doing it earlier, but the way I was doing it was from this position. See? See? It goes back a little bit, which means it is free flowing. You can't go back here because I need to angle it a little bit. It needs to have a little bit of an angle. And I also need to not hit the gears, so I need to hold it at a certain area. now we don't see any back wind, but we saw it earlier. You can see a tiny bit there. If it's angled at the right spot, it will show that it can wind backwards. This is without grease. See right there. So you can just touch lightly and you can see it right there. It is going backwards. So that is for the bevel gear. Sometimes you can see the sector gear do it too. Sometimes, but what you're basically looking for is to see that. It depends on your angle that you're holding this, and I was holding it like this in the palm of my, almost in the palm like of my hand. And you can see that it really just depends. But if you get your gears showing that they can actually do that, then that means you have them not too tight and that they free flow. And you can see that they work very well. See, everything's working really well. So this is perfectly done. Alright, I'll catch you guys later and bump you with a backhand fist. And see ya.